Guys, look at the loading screen. Reynor playing random, Clem playing random as well. This was recently played in the BGE, a best of 5 series of StarCraft 2. And I heard that both players decided to play random. Now guess what? They decided to only do this for game number 1 of the series. And both of them spawned in as their main race. Okay, I guess we'll do our regular introduction. And it is all irrelevant. Spawning right here, in the top right-hand corner, playing with the green Zerg drones, we have none other than Reynor. His opponent, down in the bottom left, played with the with a little polar bear on the main command center. We're, of course, looking at Clem's main command center. We have the new world champion going up against the old world champion. And from what I understand, this particular series, despite the fact that we don't get, like, a Protoss versus... I don't know, it could have been so much fun, right? Anyways, it should be an absolute banger regardless of it. So this was played as, I think, the upper bracket finals. So not quite the grand finals of this offline tournament. This was played in Bulgaria, but very close. One of the last rounds of the entire tournament. Now lately, whenever these two play against each other, it seems to be pretty much unwinnable for Reynor. He has won a couple of rounds here and there. He's gone for some cheeky, for example, Mutalisk builds, and he sort of caught Clem off guard. But Clem has now had a couple of weeks to prepare against those Muta openers and to really learn what the best response is. And like I've said, Clem has been looking pretty much unbeatable. He's been destroying the competition left, right, and center. Now, the only person that has been giving him some trouble is Reynor. Reynor is the only player, really, that's winning maps. But winning an entire series against Clem right now looks pretty much impossible. Now, fun fact, by the way, the BGE, it seems, at least... this is when Reynor finds out his opponent is playing Terran, and where Clem realizes his opponent is playing Zerg. That's why we have the XD. Reynor, by the way, still using XD. It is a little lame. I do agree. I was told recently by one of my nieces that apparently people that use XD are old. Yeah, apparently this is, yeah, it is what it is. I use XD all the time. But anyways, what was I saying? It was probably not important. Now, what I'm just trying to get at, so Clem has been looking nigh unbeatable in pretty much every matchup. He's gone 8-0 against Serral recently. He's beaten every Protoss, he's beaten every Terran. And even though he's dropping a few maps here and there in relatively unimportant series against Reynor, I mean, still important, but, you know, not the premier big tournaments, not the offline events. And, yeah, the matches that really matter, it seems like Clem is just on another level. Alrighty, now, for now, everything here is very normal. We've got ourselves a barracks, a factory, command center on the low ground, second CC inside of the main base, so that's the third one in total. And we'll see a starport here momentarily, I'm sure. There are technically some variations. Oh yeah, what I was trying to say is that from looking at some of the BGE games so far, it seems like both of the players are allowed to just pick whatever color they want. So that's why Reynor is playing in green. Usually this is a tournament restriction. So we've had some issues in the past where, say for example, it's a Protoss versus Protoss. One of them is playing pink, the other one is playing purple. Right, for the pro gamers, they don't care. They don't notice the color. They usually have the colors adjusted and normalized on their own monitors anyways. But it can be a bit of a mess for, well, everybody. So a lot of tournaments, they force you basically to go with the maximum contrast. But I think in a matchup like this, in Terran versus Zerg, you could very well have any color going up against each other. Even pink versus purple would work out just fine. I think it's nice to have different colors around the battlefield. Anyways, Liberator here. Fun fact, actually, a lot of tournaments these days are played with a custom mod added to it, as we actually have Clem. Hold that thought. Okay. Thinking about a run by, but not committing to it. There's this custom mod you can add to a custom game in StarCraft 2 that basically allows you a different viewer, or like a different view as the observer than what the pro gamers see. So say, for example, the pro gamers can have all of the skins disabled in-game, but as the observer, you can have skins enabled. So most of the time, pro gamers do not like playing with skins, but you will notice them sometimes in tournaments that they will have unit skins on. But that's not likely something that the pro gamers are then also seeing at the exact same time, which is kind of neat. There's a lot of very clever additions. So the pro gamers could play with any color they like. I guess they could always normalize it for the observer, but Yeah, there are some clever additions that the community has cooked up over the years in StarCraft. It is called Observer++, in case you're wondering. Anyways, that's also giving us all these nice little additions, like seeing the little SCV that is currently in production and some of these updates and upgrades that will finish up. All of this being said, though, this is all very normal, except I would say for, oh, well, maybe that Liberator. It looks like the Liberator got a queen at the very least, but not a whole lot of drones, just a single worker going down. Can these Hellions achieve something? Okay. Well, they achieved something, as in death. That's something. I guess it counts. They also killed one drone. This is a nice start, though, here for Reynor. Getting that Liberator and then also the Hellions is really, really good. We don't actually see a ton of Liberator openers anymore with the triple CC 111. Used to be something Clem played all the time, and I was going to bring up that usually he's very good at keeping the Liberator around and then sending it back, repairing it, and then sending it back around the map once more. So a bit of an uncharacteristic mistake right there from Clem. This certainly does slow down his early game quite a bit, though, because right now he's got basically no map presence. Zerg can do whatever they like. He's got no scouting. And he doesn't really have a whole lot going on for himself other than, well, economy. This, for example, can already hurt. This is probably going to cost him a few SCVs. Not quite. Very quick pool right there. But is it, for example, safe right now for Clem to march around the map? Can he send these medevacs out full of Marines? He's going to take a bit of a gamble here, and he will, get a bit of vision out on the map, but he doesn't really know exactly what's going on. There could be obviously like imagine a Baneling bust right now, right? It would be a bit of a strange follow-up for Reynor, but it would be something that Clem is not prepared against at all, because normally at this point you would have the Hellions parked at home to defend against those sort of attacks. Well, we will see Banelings eventually. Lair is just about to finish up, and we'll probably see Baneling speed fired up as... Where is the Baneling nest? Ah, there it is. There you go. As soon as the Lair is done, and we also see an immediate infestation pit. So that's curious. He went double upgrades first, then into a Lair, then into Baneling speed. This screams to me as the old school Ultralisk rush. I'm a fan of Ultra rushes, especially when Terran plays a bit of a shakier early game. It usually means that you can get to Ultralisks before Terran gets to Ghosts. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that infestation pit. If it's going to be an instant hive, there's a very good chance Reynor is going to try and get Ultras out before Terran gets up to Ghosts. Obviously, Ultras have many counters, and they're not particularly strong overall, but they're really good against a Terran player who's still sort of stuck on playing a Marine-based army. And there it is. 7.5 minute hive, rolling in. Zerg economy is looking good. He's going to be transferring drones forward towards those golden minerals. Not bad whatsoever. And this is one of those games where Clem is just looking a little bit... Yeah, a little bit human-like. He's looking surprisingly mortal. Yeah. Oh, lovely split right there by Reynor. Reynor playing a great game so far, by the way. Not really running into any issues whatsoever. The only problem, I guess, is that his gas count is relatively low. He probably should have started up those gases a bit earlier. He's been forced to make up these... So the fact that he's actually prioritizing, okay, melee upgrades over carapace makes me wonder if maybe it will be something else. It could just be pure Ling Bane. It could just be full adrenal glands. Nice targeting right here as well by Clem at the northern section of the map. Oh, and he gets the kill on that base. That is really good. Getting the kill on that expansion, and then maybe even getting one over here at the front too. Reynor may have 500 APM, but he's not quite fast enough to stop all of these attacks. That suddenly makes this match a whole lot more difficult. Well, there it is. Ultra Cavern is indeed coming up. But these moves just now by Clem, they're exactly what he needed. The wind is back in his sails. Because I know a lot of you are very familiar with boats. StarCraft fans are a little bit older, right? So you guys... I'm assuming you guys own yachts or something. Anyways, do yachts need sails? I don't know. I don't know anything about boats. I don't know what you're talking about. Who's bringing up boats? Anyways, I think the wind is back in Clem's sails right now. He's feeling pretty good about all of this. He's going to finish up 2-2 momentarily. Planetary Fortress is currently... Nice splits. It's currently coming up on the left side of the map as well. No Zergling pressure over there at all. Getting an Evo Chamber would be huge! Oh, he's gonna sack the Marines and he gets it. And you know what? Losing the +2 carapace, that is the only one you don't want to lose when you play Ultras. They need their armor. Now, those Widow Mines were traitors, though. 10 SCVs go down. Big Zergling counterattack, getting a lot of work done. Not bad whatsoever. Usually, though, with the 4th Command Center being ready to go, this would be the point as well, where Clem is gonna go ahead and add on. Yep, he's already got his extra barracks. The 2 extra ones over here. We probably had a 3rd one added into the mix with another tech lab, too. This would be the opportunity for him to put down the Ghost Academy. Ultras will still be coming, but these Ultras are not gonna be nearly as tanky as they would have been with +2. +2 armor actually is a massive upgrade here. Okay. Still dangerous, though, for Clem to be this far out onto the creep. Zergling run by. Dangerous, but very defendable. Nicely managed here by Clem, who's now starting to pull ahead in the supply count. Now, there will be this opportunity, though, for Reynor, where he will have Ultralisk out, and his opponent doesn't really have a reliable counter yet. Now, I say yet, there's still a ton of Widow Mines. We have a whole lot of Marauders in the mix, too. He now has seen the Ultras, and he powers up double Liberator production. Woo! Literal minefield here. My god. Ultra tanking quite a bit of the damage. To me, though, Ultra builds really very much so feel as a haha, got you now type of build order, where it is a very small timing where they can be effective, and that timing is already closing. Like, that window is already closing. So we're up to 3 Ultras now. We're gonna go up to 5. I think the age of the Ultra is mostly over. And Clem isn't even gonna go for Ghost here. This is almost disrespectful. Yeah, okay, there finally is the Ghost Academy. This is almost disrespectful towards the Ultralisks. Clem is so not concerned that he's just gonna double down on Marauder production instead. Tier 3 units fighting Tier 1 units. Who do you think wins? It's the Tier 1 units, actually. Marauders are really good when microed well. Good splits here, I guess, against those Widow Mines. But the Zergling counterattacks are gonna have to deal a lot more damage for this all to be worthwhile. Clem hasn't really left a lot of defenses at home. And he's being quite adventurous now as well, with an army that really isn't necessary to attack with. A little bit more friendly fire here dealt to, though, by those Widow Mines. Okay. I don't like the Ultras, guys. But the Ultras are working in this game because Clem, for some reason, is not going Ghosts. It's a really weird gentleman's agreement here. 1 Marauder here. 2 Marauders. Are they gonna kill that? Don't tell me they're gonna kill it. Yeah. 20 Zerglings, but not enough surface area on any of them. Yeah, Clem is making this unnecessarily difficult by going for Ghosts. Or, well, not going for them. He's got the Ghost Academy. He has the money. He's got the eco. He's just a gentleman. Alright. He's gonna lose the planetary because of it, though. What if this is like a 700 IQ play here by Clem, right? And he's thinking, okay, if I keep winning, making all these Ghosts, right? At some point, we're probably gonna see a balance patch where the Ghost is gonna get nerfed. So what if I stop going Ghost, and then people believe the Ghost is actually not that great of a unit? Because if I don't play it, then it must not be good. Kind of like the Cyclone or something. Maybe the Raven, where you rarely see those. Do they need a buff? 300 IQ decision making right here by Clem, who shows us that he doesn't need Ghost to win. I mean, he's struggling here against these counterattacks, I guess, but he's dealing so much damage in the meantime on the other side of the map. And at this point, the supply count is even heavy. Yeah, it's 40 supply in favor. He's gonna take the gold base. This is pretty much unwinnable right now for Reynor. Yeah, Clem is not really even playing a 1 versus 1 right now against Zerg. He's playing a 1 versus 1 against Blizzard. Crossing his fingers, crossing his toes, hoping that the Ghost will not get nerfed. Now, to stay with boat references, I think that ship has sailed. Fairly sure we're gonna see an adjustment. If we're gonna see any changes to the game, it has to be the Ghost. There's really no other option. Reynor is sticking in here though, and because there's no ghosts, infestors are awfully useful, because without EMP, without snipes, I mean, you can fungal the bio army, at which point the ultras can jump on top of it. Yeah, this is still an incredibly nice game here for Clem, but I'm not 100% confident, mostly because he's avoiding the best unit. Spire coming up by Reynor. This is expensive. He's maybe thinking about a mass muta transition, actually. Would be pretty flimsy, but I don't think Brute Lords... I mean, Brute Lords would be a decent option, but, like, Brute Lords are miles away. He doesn't really have the money for it. Brute Lord Infestor is nice. We have a bunch of mules that were pulled away from their mineral lines, too. Another unit that I see a lot of people complain about. Maybe Clem is saying, yo, don't worry about them. You don't need to nerf him. Nah. No, don't worry about it. Yeah, this is feeling like one of those games where Zerg... How do I say this? Zerg just has a very slow death animation. It kind of feels to me like Reynor died 5 minutes ago. But this is like the Zerg death rattle over here. We still have a bunch of creep. There's still a bunch of army. And obviously there's this chance that Clem is gonna have a massive mistake here. And that he's actually just gonna, yeah, screw up. And suddenly the game is once again playable for Reynor. So obviously you can't blame him for sticking in the match. But that's the thing about Clem lately. Ooh. He's not really fond of making mistakes. Good defense here by Reynor, though. There's the fungal growth. These bio units are actually in some trouble. We did obviously have a nice Baneling roll by 2. Base on the left side of the map also did stay alive. Ah, okay, all right. Clem is calling the bluff now. We're finally gonna go into the good old Ghost. Now, I'm gonna give the game 1 minute after Ghost hit the battlefield. I think the game is over at the 1 minute mark. After the Ghosts are out. Okay, the clock starts ticking right now. I'm saying this game is over in 1 minute. Let's see. We're gonna hear the glorious pew 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 pew. Maybe Reynor's gonna see the Ghost and he's like, okay, buddy, pal. Actually, no, he calls Clem kid. He usually calls Clem the kid, which is kind of ironic because Clem is older than Reynor. Anyways, here they are. 30 seconds on Loco's proverbial clock. Oh no, this is that moment your heart sinks as the Zerg. How many Ghosts are there? Just 4, actually. Did you hear that stealth assassin die? The Liberators are doing so much work as well. Corruptors are starting to shut this down, though. It's just that the amount of units here that Clem is capable of making... My prediction was wrong, by the way. Aw. Anyways, the amount of units here that Clem can be producing is pretty much... I mean, he's still got 50 supply or so to play with. 40-ish supply to play with. It is technically... Okay, never mind. Game number 2. We find ourselves on Amphion. Look at the little polar bear. Ay. Clem, I think the only member, at least the only member that I'm familiar with, of Clen Mlem. Clen Mlem Liquid Clem. There you go, it's a little tricky. But this is apparently the clan decal of Clen Mlem. It's a bit of a tongue twister. Anyways, what are we gonna do this time around? What exactly do you change? We did see Clem making a couple of uncharacteristic errors though. A couple of Baneling roll-bys, a couple of Zergling run-bys that he wasn't prepared for. We also obviously saw him losing all of the Hellions in the early game. But ultimately, he still guides everything into a perfect setup. I feel like when he sniped the +2 armor in the Evo chamber, right? He obviously didn't know that that was the one with armor upgrades, but when he sniped the +2 armor in the evolution chamber, that was, in my mind, where the deal was sealed. Which sounds really lame. It's just that Ultras are just such a mediocre unit. Maybe they shouldn't be called Ultras. Maybe they should be called mediocre lists. Lisks, rather. Honestly, Ultras don't really feel very Ultra. Once upon a time, they were pretty good, but no more. Yeah. They're like average Lisks. Meh Lisks. Mitra Lisks. Beta Lisks. Something like that. Ultra goes a bit far. Or as Sarah likes to call them, Ultras. It's actually kind of funny. Basically, the entire European StarCraft scene no longer calls Mutas Mutas and Ultras Ultras. They call them Ultras and Mutas, which is what Sarah calls them. Somehow he has impacted the vocabulary of the entire European StarCraft scene. Which I do think is kind of brilliant. I think it started off as a bit of a tease, but then it stuck. Mutas and Ultras. Or, Ultras? No. Mutas and Ultras. Alrighty, so where do we go from here? I can imagine we're not really gonna have to look at Clem to mix it up. I'm mostly curious to see if Reynor is gonna change anything. Obviously, Reynor did play that series recently against MSRM. I did cast those games. And we did see the Zerg player in that series, so in case you haven't seen it, that may be a little bit confusing. MSRM is a Grandmaster Zerg player on the European server, and Reynor against MSRM decided to play Terran. So that was the first round of this same tournament. Reynor decided to play Terran in that match. And MSRM went for some build orders that I don't think Reynor had ever seen before. Some crazy proxy hatcheries and Ravager rushes and all the rest of it. It was actually kind of sick. Not what we're gonna have this time around, though. This is Reynor on 2 bases, making a lair. I've seen Reynor do 2 builds off of 2 bases as of late. Either it's Mutas, or it's a queen drop. I think it's Mutas. Very curious. We do still lack 1 gas. It could be Nidus play as well. We have seen that quite a bit. Lair is going to finish up right now. We have perfectly 200 gas, which is how much it costs to erect a spire. And there it is. Ah, it's not erected yet, but it will finish soon. I promise. Oh, we're gonna go Dropper Lord as well. Huh? This is Dropper Lord without Pneumatized Carapace, guys. I think he's faking the build. He's faking an all-in. There is no Overlord speed. He's faking an all-in. That is so curious. He's done this build against Clem a bunch of times, where he goes into a queen drop on the other side of the map. So he shows the Hellions a Dropper Lord morphing in. I think Clem is gonna get confirmation that the queens never left. Maybe not. He's gonna scan right now in the main base. He sees the lair. That does not tell him much. He's got queens. Okay, yeah, he's got marines parked here to counter queens inside of the main. But I think Clem is already starting to call the bluff here. Why would there still be queens out front laying down tumors? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. 1 scan in the main base like that, by the way, is quite expensive. Obviously, this is triple CC Terran versus 2 base Zerg, so it's not like Clem can't afford it. But sadly for him, he scanned the wrong base. So these mutas are gonna show up completely unscouted. Oh no. Clem is calling the bluff right now, but where is he putting his opponent instead? We have a bunch of NG base coming up, but there will not be missile turrets in time at this rate. Oh my god. If Reynor catches these Medivacs, that would be huge. Okay, he's actually not gonna send the Medivacs through the top of the map. I kind of assumed that Clem was making the assumption by now that this base would be the one that he's been mining off this entire time. So I figured that's where those Medivacs would be heading, but apparently not the case. It's 6 mutas for now, plus 1 missile, or air weapons rather, coming up on the back of this too. Ay. It's gonna work. Clem caught off guard against this, but he still has a really nice attack over here, and this is an attack where there are no banelings. With a build like this, Zerg does not go banelings nearly as quickly. This is effectively a 2 base all-in, and yes, he's caught his opponent off guard, but he has nothing to deal with these units here. I love this push from Clem. It's a ballsy one. If he would have made 2 missile turrets, it would have been pretty much perfect. He's losing a ton of eco at home, which is turning this into an all-in. Oh, yeah, those drones are in a world of trouble, though. Yep, the flamethrowers are here. Hans! Get the Flammenwerfer! Anyways. This is turning into a bit of a base race, I suppose, but this is a base race that Zerg is never gonna win. I don't believe it. Unless we get a lot of Zergling run-bys, or... Because the thing is, even if everything settles, right? Like, even if the dust settles right here and we just go back home and we continue playing, 9 SCVs plus 3 mules is a lot more than 24 workers of Zerg worth of economy. Mutas can't fight this. Those Marines are gonna win the fight every time. So I don't think Reynor can clean this up. His best chances are to just jump this army, but his economy is in the gutter. Clem is gonna go for 1 missile turret somewhere. He's got a couple of Widow Mines protecting his main base. Fair enough. A few Marines will be tasked with going after the lair itself. Hellbats on the ramp make it very difficult to get much done. Maybe the Mutas can get something in. I mean, this is quite a few Mutas, but this is quite an expensive trade as well. You know what? Maybe Reynor can get this done. He cancelled the +1 air weapons, by the way. So apparently we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel now. Yeah, those mules are really gonna boost up the income a ton. We have Clem actually moving out though, which is very risky. If Reynor can stabilize here, it's actually a playable game for him. He needs to be very cautious though, because there is a bit of a minefield all around the map. Yeah, these these Marines are baiting him. He's like, come and play. Look at me stutter step. Look at me go. Trying to bait him into that mine in the main base. Clem cannot really afford any scans here. But the thing is, there's no banelings anyways. I find this move out from Clem questionable. Because Zerg has been making a ton of units. Well, here we go. Yeah, Widowmine's dealing friendly fire. Oof. This is actually probably the best case scenario here for Reynor. Clem was hoping that his opponent was going to jump it. I think Clem is playing this like he's incredibly far behind. Maybe he's still under the assumption that that third base was mining for a really long while already. We're microing every Marine right now. Hey, is that a place called El Poco? Alright, sorry. Never seen that before. Maybe it's a restaurant. You want to go to Poco's? You want to watch Locos at Poco's? Hey! I mean, I would go. I would go. Anyways. In the meantime, Clem has been making a bunch of SCVs again. He's got a missile turret. He's got Widow Mines. The Spire lives, by the way. We have an Overlord over here, sitting on top of it. Pooping creep. Treating the Spire like a toilet. Yeah. Curious. Muta's going around. I don't actually know what Poco's is. Maybe it's not a restaurant. It could be anything. What if you guys go watch Locos at Poco's? But Poco's is actually like... Maybe it could be a strip club, yeah. Could be many things. Marine drop. In the meantime, over at the third base of the Zerg. This is turning into a banger of a low eco game, by the way. I'm very... Like, Clem is being very brave with his Marine move outs. Look at him picking up in a medevac that has no HP. Drops the units off just barely again. But what he's trying to do is try to make it really difficult here for Reynor to make too many drones. Both players sneaking out upgrades. Bailing Nest on the horizon. +1 coming up as well for Terran. This is a lot of Marines though. We're talking 33 Marines. In a straight up battle, the Zerg units certainly will not win. But obviously he can make a lot of reinforcing units in the meantime. Reynor has got a bit of gas. Making in a bunch of Banelings. And preventing the preventing the Terran from just being able to stand there and fire, right? Like, that would be huge. Forcing some micro. He's hunting for the Spire. And he's gonna get it. Bunch of Marines, though, cut off from the main pack. These Marines are on a one-way trip. But this positioning here is incredibly good for the Terran. So little surface area on those Marines. The Zerglings are starting to break through, though, and the numbers may just be slightly in favor right here of Reynor. How is he doing this? Yeah, GG gets cold. Wow. He just barely gets it done. That match was on a razor's edge, but it is going to go in favor of Reynor. Lovely work. Alrighty, that will take us to Crimson Court. Now, lovely game right there from Reynor. Who's going to go for a 13-12? No, we're going to... What? He was early. Oh no, he wanted to go for a 15. But he accidentally made the gas geyser one supply early. Well, that was a little awkward. Anyways, keep in mind though, that previous game, while it was a win for Reynor, that game was one missile turret away. Like, if Clem would have made one missile turret at the correct timing, or if he would have scanned the correct base, right? Because he basically, he tossed up a coin and yeah, he got the wrong base. That game would have been a landslide victory, I think. For Clem, either way, the score has been evened up. And Reynor is he actually taking a page out of MSRM's book? Is this actually going to be a proxy hatch into a Ravager all-in? Clem's going for his, well, standard 2 Rex opener on this map. 2 Rex opener is really nice because it's good against denying your opponent's third base at this forward expansion. Turns out that's not going to be the purpose of the 2 Rex this time around. I don't think Clem is likely to scout, so I don't think he's actually going to see this until the first Reaper pops. Yeah, he will probably keep the SCVs at home because he's going to go triple Reaper here pretty much regardless. So if that's the case, he's not going to know about this hatch until, well, it's already done. So he's not going to be able to really address it. We don't have any gases yet? Wait. Is Reynor doing a Nidus? Or, sorry, a Spinecrawler all-in? He wants to get the rich gas at the front. That's what it is. Okay, yeah, we're taking the gas on the other side of the map. Roach Warren coming up right now, too. This means that this base is basically just like a launching platform, right? This is a location where the Zerg army, it's like a springboard, right? He's going to be able to start dealing damage really quickly because his production is going to be coming out on this side of the map too. Clem realizes it though, and he's actually making the decision to build the bunkers out into the map. Normally you'd want to hide behind the wall, but I think in this instance, the forward ones do make sense. Queen is going to pop out soon. That's going to leave these drones to mine the gas a little bit easier. Reapers have already been going to town though. Oh, those grenades can sometimes be quite handy as they boop you in range right there of the units. Roaches are coming, but the Queen may go down. Oh, gets one of the Reapers, decently enough. Drones are gonna hide over here. They're waiting until the Roaches come out, and they are gonna come out right now. Reynor has mined a bit of gas. Obviously, this rich Vespian Geyser gives you twice as much gas income, so 8 gas a trip rather than the conventional 4. We have another backup gas going up in the main base too. I think he just wants to go pure Ravager. Okay. Now, who wins this at this point? Clem is going to go for a command center in the meantime, which I find awfully ambitious. I wonder if you should have gone second gas a little bit quicker. Maybe go into a... Oh, that Reaper walked into his own grenade. Go into a faster starport. Cyclone will be the weapon of choice here for now. Then again, though, like, I may be critical right here of Clem, but I also don't really remember the last time I've seen Clem lose against any all-in. I guess the previous game was all-in-ish from the Zerg, but yeah, like a macro all-in. Maybe this will be the one. This is like a proper all-in all-in. This is kind of sick, though. So I wonder if Reynor is actually inspired from playing against the 5-point-something-K Zerg player, MSRM. Is this another Eric situation? Either way, Clem is responding to this This is very likely the first time he's seen this build. At the very least, the first time in a while he's played against it. And he's responded by going Cyclone Marauder. Now, I am not sure that that is the most optimal way to play against this. In my mind, going into a Banshee over anything along those lines would be nice. Obviously, though, the problem you run into is that Queens can still be produced over here. And Banshee cloaking takes forever. Plus, I guess you could even make a Spore Crawler. Spore Crawler would actually be kind of sick. No, you know what? Banshee play is not a good idea at all. Depots are falling. And I think with it, Clem is pretty much dead. Huh. GG. Guys, is this a series? A best of 5? Where Clem is 2-1 behind? Are we gonna cheese again, Reynor? Now, I will say that the wins we're seeing against Clem are all with, like, cheeky builds, right? 2 base Nidus, 2 base Mutas, 1 base Proxy Hatch. We have Queen drops. We've got all the great Zerg book of cheese, right? Like, we're taking all the pages from that book. But Clem is human sometimes. Yeah, it turns out in order to counter Clem, you have to channel your inner dark. You know what? Historically, Clem has actually been quite vulnerable against the Korean Zergs in particular. But dark is dark, and he plays the game a little differently. Maybe that's what Reynor needs to be doing as well, and that's what he has been doing so far. So game number 1 was an Ultra Rush. Game number 2 was a Muta Rush. Game number 3, a Proxy Hatch Ravager all-in. Basically, the theme is try to avoid ghosts as much as possible. That's what it all comes back to, man. I don't want to turn every conversation into a ghost, you know, complaint, but... I'm getting heated again. No, calm down, Loco. Clem basically is playing survival until minute 12. That's the plan. That's the goal. That's where we try to take the game. Clem, in the meantime, trying to not go ghosts, which was curious in game 1, wasn't it? He scouts an Ultralisk Rush. He's like, okay, perfect. Don't need ghosts. What? That's terrible advice. Clem also likes to take out the most expensive loans, just because it keeps him motivated, you know? He's like, no, I'll take the 22% interest, thank you very much. It keeps me motivated to pay off my debt. All right, Clem. Maybe just make a ghost and, you know, take the lower interest instead. But I guess it does make him work a little bit harder for it, so that's nice. Hey, by the way, this is by no means a macro build again from Reynor. Reynor is once more going for what seems to be an all-in. This is, well, it's a 2-base technically, but this is effectively a 1-base build, where the second hatchery is going to be used for larva generation. There's absolutely 0 scouting here from Clem, which is kind of weird. There's really no reason for Clem to go for a lack of scouting. Like, he could just easily go SCV scout. He could at the very least go Reaper scout. In all honesty, he should probably do both. But this is a 7 Roach Rush. Oh, remember the good old 7 Roach opener? This is a very old build. This used to be a normal build once upon a time, way back in Wings of Liberty. Yeah, it's a 7 Roach Rush. So you send these units around the map in such a way that your opponent doesn't know it. Clem at this point is gonna scout again that he sees the exact same thing as he did on Amphion. He sees that there is no 3rd base taken, he now sees 2 queens at the front, but he doesn't realize that roaches have already snuck away. And obviously the Wings of Liberty, now we go, okay, he knows. The Wings of Liberty variant of this build didn't have Ravagers because they didn't exist. I do think, though, Reynor needs to have high ground vision here. If he's gonna face tank it with a Roach, that would be quite brave. I don't like this. I don't like this at all from Reynor. Nah, horrible. Lovely work, though, by Clem. Bringing the Hellions back. Catching these units before they really lay eggs. Sorry, Jimmy. There was no room in the plane for you. And apparently the cars were more important. That's okay. That's probably one of those Hellions you got a 22% interest rate on. Ravagers are still going to be able to put in some work though, but the thing is, Cyclones are already on the horizon. Clem is already looking like he's sort of holding here, and on top of that, there's also a Banshee. This time around, there is obviously no Queen nearby, no Spore Crawler potential, none of that. So this is already a ticking time bomb. At this point, Reynor is just trying to maximize damage, and Clem is mostly just flexing on his opponent. Look at him micro. Lovely control right here by Mr. Clem. Now, obviously, that was not free, but I think it was quite comfortable. We should see a third command center here very soon. In the meantime, we have a move forward. He's going to grab the third hatchery. At the very least, he's going to try. Attacking this hatchery means that Zerg has to go back once more to unit production. So he was droning for a little while attacking. I think Reynor can hold on to this base though. Here come the Banshee together with, or he comes to Banshee rather, together with the Cyclone. Oh, why are we attacking with drones? A little overly ambitious right there. Two Cyclones inside of the medevac. They're gonna hunt down Brenda. Screw you in particular, Queen. Yes, Queen. Slay. Or, in Brenda's case, slayed. Anyways. Oh. Alright, well, at least we got revenge for Brenda. Lair over at the third? Okay. To be fair, the main problem here is that the opponent is gonna be scouting it immediately. But you do get a little bit of additional HP on a lair compared to a hatchery, so that's something. In the meantime now, the cloak is here. And Brenda's sisters are running away, but... Ugh. Reynor's actually making these games look quite comfortable, even though I am looking at this as somebody who's played a gajillion games of Zerg myself. Like, supply-wise, it's fine. Worker-wise, it's all fine, but this feels really uncomfortable. Maybe it's because I've played a lot of Zerg myself, and then I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't like this situation here for Zerg at all, even though he's he's ahead in the supply count. It's just a really dirty spot to be in. Because it feels like you've given up all control, you know? Like, there's really nothing you can do here as Zerg other than another all-in. Like, you can follow up your all-in with an all-in, but there's no upgrades, there's no late game transition potential. You don't really have anything going for you other than, I guess, trying to play a macro game from behind, which feels terrible, or another all-in, which also feels terrible. As long as Clem realizes that it's going to be the all-in variant here, it should be an easy hold for him. Now that's the big question, right? It's difficult for Terran at this point to scout. He doesn't really know exactly what's out there. He's got a third command center at this point. He got 62 SCVs, so his income is going to be booming. 1,200 minerals more a minute. That's tremendous. So any second right now that Clem buys is going to bring him further and further ahead. Banshee is going to go in. This is going to put on a little bit of damage. There's another Banshee over here in the back of the main base too, but let's keep the camera on this main push at the front, because Ravagers are here, and the Zerglings are ready to get a wraparound. If we can get a wraparound, and then Biles in the middle! Woo, a couple of the Marines did get picked up inside of the plane in time, but lovely move right there by Reynor, who's splitting off Zerglings to go after the SCVs over at the third base too. Reinforcing Marines, though, are coming out in large numbers. Combat Shield is going to finish up. +1/+1. Just about to finish up as well for those Marines. That's going to be a very significant power spike right here. Banshee has gone back home. I still think Clem holds this in the long run. Maybe? I think he will. One downside for him is that most of his production is set up in the natural. There's a lot of choke points here, yeah. Those battles are relatively easy to land, but the Banshee has no counter at the moment. So all of this is on a timer. Really good pickup control right here by Clem. Turns out he's not only a pro gamer, he's also a pickup artist. Insane. Plus, he kind of looks like the list on Al-Gaib. Yeah, kind of sick. GG. And that means it all comes down to this. Final game in this best of 5 series. We find ourselves on Oceanborn. Alrighty then. Really? Really? Are we doing another proxy hatch? I don't think so. Okay, we're gonna take it over here on the left side of the map. Reynor really taking a page out of that series he played against MSRM. There's a very good chance that Clem never saw those games. You should check the games of your opponent, right? But you don't necessarily watch all of them. It depends on whether or not you're already at the venue and what time the games are being played at and all that. But generally speaking, you would imagine that is the type of series, right? No disrespect at all towards other players, but if you have one of the very best players in the world going up against another player, even if they are Grandmaster, there's a massive gap of skill, and it's not really the type of series that Clem is going to watch to learn from. But apparently Reynor may have learned something that may be valuable to him. Clem is also skipping a lot of SCV scouting though, which is kind of crazy to me. It seems like the only thing that is really causing him problems right now are cheeky Zerg openers. We don't really see him lose a lot of macro games. Okay. I feel like if that's the case, right? And if like that's your only real vulnerability, maybe go SCV scout into Reaper scout every game. Just play as safe as you can. Just, you know, make sure you get the information. Anyways, he's not gonna get this information in time, but at the very least he will, well, pick up on the fact that there's no natural expansion for the Zerg, which is indirectly still very good information about what could be happening in the game. So he's gonna see right now that something is a little fishy. Yeah, and what do you go up against now? What is the plan? Well, at least you're not gonna send the Reaper across. He's gonna check the other third base, and he will find out that there is indeed a Zerg infestation very close to home. Roach Warren once again coming up on the other side of the map. So this is going to be inside of the main base of the Zerg. Queen is coming. 2 queens are coming in total. And we'll probably see a whole lot of roaches being morphed in as soon as that Warren is done. He wants to go tumor here. But he also knows it's kind of risky. This Overlord, by the way, is really nice to have. Because again, high ground vision. Quick bunker on the low ground. Second barracks in the main base. So notice here how Clem is not going starport. Instead, he's going to go straight into a second barracks, and he's going to go into Cyclone production. Bunker in the main base too. I can imagine that this is a good defense for Clem, but not quite 100% optimized. Would not be surprised at all if this is something that's going to require a more specific response. But maybe this is it. I don't know. I don't really see these builds very frequently, but maybe this is already like the perfect flushed out option right here from Clem. It seems like that bunker in the main base is currently not really that useful yet. Maybe we don't really need the money though. Factory coming up, tech lab on it. So it is gonna have the option to produce siege tanks. Or Thors. I don't think, there's no way. That would be one hell of a play, though. If Clem decides to go into a one-base Thor push. Wait a second, command center. Scouting SCV goes down. Floating to the surface of Oceanborn. Mass repairs. Takes about 7 or 8 biles to kill a bunker. Depending on how good the SCV repair is. So this is going to live for quite a while. Siege tank is indeed coming up. But keep in mind that the siege tank, of course, can be used and biled down. If you can get like 3 siege tanks out, I think the game is pretty much over. But getting 3 siege tanks out again, this is going to be real tough. I think the biles will be very focused. I love how far back that is. Yeah, they will be very focused on the bunker. And if they're focused on the bunker, it means that the siege tank is going to be able to stay alive. There's still a backup bunker too. Link speed on the back of this now as well for the Zerg, but this is not really looking like it's going anywhere so far. As a matter of fact, we even have droning now on the other side of the map. Reynor is making use of the opponent's, what would normally be their 4th base. Second siege tank on the horizon. These games are starting to become really wild and wacky, though. You love to see it. I'm a big fan of these sort of things. Repair? Oh, only one SCV is repairing for some reason. Tech Lab, we'll probably see Stimpec here in just a moment. Marines and the Cyclone here are trying to zone away against any corrosive biles. And it goes very nicely so far. There is indeed Stimpec. That is the way out of this here for Clem. And this is now turning into a very strange little macro game. Where this all-in from Reynor hasn't really done that much, but it also hasn't been very all-in-y. It's been, you know, the reverse of an all-in. A none-in? Yeah, a none-in. An all-out? Yeah, depends on your perspective, I guess. We're basically treating this as an offensive creep spreader. Like, that's what we're doing. We're spreading creep backwards. Which makes the entire situation a little bit funky. Normally you start at... Ooh. Ooh, that's within range? I didn't even consider that. He can harass the base with a... That's the first time I've seen that. He can harass this base with a siege tank from the natural. But only 3 mineral fields, though. He's gonna have to scoot it further forward. But obviously, if he does, he knows that his siege tank is gonna be within range of the corrosive biles. So he needs to be careful in that department. Stimpec, though, is finishing up. And that is like the light at the end of the tunnel right here for Clem. He's gonna have a very powerful army all of a sudden. And these Ravagers have to be very careful that they don't accidentally get hugged. Clem is really good at hugging Ravagers to death. Because they really need a little bit of buffer in front of themselves, right? Either be it corrosive biles, or roaches, or zerglings, or whatever. But if it's pure Ravager, gotta be careful. Clem is not gonna take that risk. Instead, he is sneaking out 2 medevacs. And these are medevacs over here with big, crooked smiles on their faces. Because they know that the other side of the map is gonna be wide open. There's an awful lot of lings, though. Reynor's been making a lot of zerglings and a lot of army here for quite a long time. Clem is making the assumption that this has been a macro game. But it really isn't. Yes, we see some drones over at this expansion. At least we saw some drones over at that expansion. They've now moved them over to the natural of the Zerg. But this has mostly just been committed unit production here by Reynor. Reynor is hoping, praying, that his opponent moves out a little bit too far, that he can get the wraparound with those Zerglings that are hiding off to the side of the map, and that he can suddenly show up and get a tremendous amount of damage done. Now, speaking of getting a tremendous amount of damage done, this is going to hurt a lot. In the meantime, Terran has a 3rd command center already finished. We have a bit of a Zergling minced meat grinder here with those guns being used very effectively. And now with that 3rd base, yeah, grabbing itself an orbital command as well, Clem is going to be skyrocketing ahead in this game. The only thing he needs to not do is overextend. There was room in the plane this time around, Jimmy, but nobody liked to. Luckily, oh, it was a bunker. All right, luckily we had some pity. Now, is there enough? That's my main question. Reynor's been making non-stop army for ages, but this may be the perfect opportunity for him to attack. Yes, Clem may be ahead economically, but he doesn't quite have the army yet that goes alongside with that a few minutes down the line. Marines now coming back home as well. The medevacs have unloaded out onto the creep. SCVs are pulled away from their mineral lines to try and soak up as much damage as possible. Another siege tank will be coming out momentarily. Supply depots stacked together. He's hoping he's going to be able to supply block the Terran, but he's already took care of a massive amount of stuff here, so Clem is in no risk of supply blocks anytime soon. Clem is dancing. He knows all he needs is time. Some of you may think that all you need is love if you're a beetle, but oh god, those biles. No, all he needs is time. Time is all he needs. And I think ultimately the reinforcing Terran units will be too much. Yeah, GG.